This is a pair of binoculars. They say they're 15x magnification with an aperture size of 56 millimeters. So I was sent this to review for free. If you wanted to purchase it, I've seen them listed currently online for about $89. They haven't paid me for my review, and my opinions remain my own. So in the box, you have an adapter that will let you attach a smartphone to the eyepiece and position the camera to take a picture through the telescope. You have a plastic tripod that will allow you to set the binoculars upright. The legs do snap out. There is a strap for a neck strap. There is a tripod adapter to use with the binoculars. There's a tool which has a flathead screwdriver and a Phillips head screwdriver at either end of it. We have some documentation in a little form of a little manual here. Looks pretty well written. Nice pictures. There's multiple different languages included inside. And then we have this carrying case. So the carrying case does not have a place to put a belt through it. This is kind of a strap type carrying case. And they have this strap here. So it's kind of a over-the-shoulder strap carrying case. And there is a little added pocket in the front here for other things. So you can have the binoculars in the back pocket, maybe a snack bar or something in the front pocket, or potentially some of these accessories if you wanted to take some of these accessories with you. Alright, so this is the main product, which is this pair of binoculars. Now right off the bat, you can tell that these are straight through tubes. They're kind of like two binoculars next to each other. They do not have the prisms. Nothing wrong with straight through optics. You get more light going through that way because it doesn't have to bounce around to a couple of prisms. The downside is that the inter-pupular distance can be limited by these guys touching in the front. And so, you know, even if you take these guys off, at some point they touch in the front, and so that's your smallest inter-pupular distance. So you can adjust outwards a decent amount, inwards that's as tight as you get. And so it may not be suitable for children to use, or even somebody with a smaller head with their eyes closer together. Now, build quality feels pretty nice. It's stiff to turn and adjust the inter-pupular distance, but basically once you set that, you don't want to change it again. There is a dipolar adjustment here on the right eye, and they have, you know, a nice little orange line there and some marks here, so you can kind of, you know, say, oh, I like it here, and then you just can put it back there. The eye cups roll out, so you basically can spin them and they go out farther to give you some eye relief there and to kind of provide some light blocking capabilities there. Now I'm wearing eyeglasses, so I'm going to leave them down to use them with my eyeglasses. Now I like the fact that the lens covers are attached on the front. I also like the fact that the rear lens covers are a single unit. So, you know, when you pull them off, you can still lose it, but it's harder to lose both of them. And you can, if you're using the neck strap, these guys can hook into a strap. So this one here has kind of an open area, and this one here is a closed area. I'm not sure if that's intentional. They want this to pop on, or maybe it got broken in manufacturing. But at least one side here, you can have a strap go through and hook it to your strap. Here it says optical glass, 15 by 56, and presumably, since they've included the tripod mount here, presumably this thing comes off to expose a 1/4 by 20 screw here. Now these guys, to get that in there, you know, when you put that in there, that might limit your inter-pupular distance. So I'm going to put that in before I adjust it to my eyes. And first of all, I have to get this guy out. And I don't know if it's something where you turn it or if it just pries out. So I think I'll read the manual. So the manual basically says that you use the first hole here, you screw this onto here, and then the next picture says connect it to the place. So I'm not able to twist this guy. All right, so using a pair of needle nose pliers, I was able to get this guy to start unscrewing. And once it's loose, it's very easy to turn with your thumb. And it is just a plastic 1/4x20 screw in there. So basically you have to pull this guy all the way out to get this guy in there. And then we're going to have to screw that in. Might be easier to push this back in place to give yourself more working room. And I believe this might be where this tool comes in, because they have a little slot in there that means that you can use a screwdriver to twist this guy. And it even kind of has a Phillips, no, it's really more of a flathead slot there. Okay, so the tripod adapter does not prevent this guy from closing any more than these dust protector rings do. Now, if you were to take these dust protector rings off, the tripod adapter perfectly fits in there. So if you need extra smaller interpupillary distance, you can remove these guys to get just a couple more millimeters there. You know, it kind of goes from about here down to there with these guys removed. And the tripod adapter does perfectly fit within there because it has kind of the cutout shape here. And it's pretty nicely balanced there, so just sitting on the tripod adapter, it just balances, so it's a pretty good balance point. Okay, measurement time. So these are absolutely not 56mm lenses. They're typical 50mm objectives. So in addition to being 50mm objectives, there appears to be a black ring on the inside of the lens that's blocking light from maybe, 5mm or so on each side. So it looks like they're trying to block light from the far edges of the lens in an attempt to cut down on the aberrations you get near the edges of the lenses. So the exit pupils appear to be about 3.8mm. So these guys definitely have more magnification than my 7x binoculars. I'm not certain they're 15x magnification. If you're looking at 50mm here and 3.8 there, you're looking at about 12x magnification. So looking through these guys, comparing them to a 7x binocular, they look like they're almost twice as much magnification. So we'll say they're 13x by 50 binoculars. So they balance well on the tripod adapter, at least without a cell phone attached to the back of them. So the cell phone adapter bracket actually screws, so it takes a little extra time to get it out and in as opposed to the spring-loaded ones, but you really can clamp your phone in pretty well. My phone is in kind of a pretty thin case and it just barely fits, so you're probably going to have to take your phone out of your case to get it to fit. It's pretty easy to line up. You basically, once you have your phone clamped in, you move this guy till your camera lens is kind of centered over it and tighten that down. And if you've done a good job, you won't have much around the edges here. It allowed me to stick it up to the binoculars and get some pretty good pictures through them. This is what it looks like on the tripod with the cell phone there. And I do recommend using like the 10-second timer so that when you push the button, there's enough time for your tripod and binoculars to stop wiggling back and forth before you get the picture. So my interpupillar distance is 61mm, and I had to take the dust rings off because these rings here were kind of, you know, making it so I couldn't quite get it tight enough for me. And so if your interpupular distance is less than about 60 or so, you just won't be able to get it tight enough to really like it. Now, it can go a lot wider than that, but, you know, it's definitely not going to work for children or people with eyes that are kind of close together in their head. So one thing you can do is carefully position these rings so that the rings don't touch each other, and that way you can have these guys hang on it and be usable, but the rings only do one ring width instead of two ring widths worth of separation. Of course, if you do that, to put both of the dust caps on, you have to spread them out a little bit just to get the dust caps on. So that's something where if you're willing to do that, you can flip these down, push it together. You know, if your interpupular distance is exactly that, it might make it easy to get back to that interpupular distance. But that's kind of a workaround, and that's because they do not have prisms in the optical train here. Now these are completely removable, so you could just remove them completely. So you could always just put it down and use top dust caps and count on the table or whatever to keep dust out of the bottom. Alright, so what I like about this kit is it is the complete package. You know, you have the carrying case and the binoculars and, you know, the dust covers, which you typically get, but you also get the little tabletop tripod, the tripod adapter for the binoculars, and the cell phone adapter. Tripod adapter is really nice, metal, fits the binoculars really well. Tripod is functional, that's about all I can give it. You know, it's plasticky, but these binoculars aren't super heavy, so it works fine for stabilizing and holding them up there. This guy is a step up from the typical kind of plastic spring-loaded clamps. Gets the job done, works pretty darn well for hooking your cell phone up to this guy to take a picture or video through it. So, nice package, decent documentation. So the downsides for me are really the price for what you're getting here. Now optics, they're pretty acceptable. You know, there's a little bit of aberrations near the edge, but it's not too bad. The magnification is pretty close to the 15x that they're claiming. The light gathering capability looks to be, you know, less than the 56 millimeters that they claim. But it's not bad. It feels like you're kind of, instead of holding a binoculars, you're holding like little toys because your hands are so close together. But weight-wise, they're the same weight as a typical binocular of this size. Interpupular distance could be a problem for people with smaller heads. It won't work for children. The focus and the diopter worked well. You have good eye relief, and I like the twist-out eye cups. It has plenty of focal range. I could take my glasses off and focus to my prescription, so I could use these without glasses, or I could wear glasses and they were comfortable, decent amount of eye relief to wear with glasses and focus with my glasses. So optically, they're pretty reasonable. They're not excellent, you know, they're not great, but they're perfectly reasonable for some binoculars. You know, so if you're looking for some binoculars with a little more magnification than your typical 7/8x magnification binoculars, they're pretty acceptable. Now the price point I saw them listed at was only $10 less than a really pretty good pair of 15x70 binoculars with prisms, which are bigger, they are heavier to carry around, but optically they're going to be a lot nicer. So you definitely want to comparison shop against some name brand binoculars, because I personally feel that the price for what you're getting is a little expensive. I think price point $50, this would be a very nice kit. At the price they're asking, I think it's a little expensive. Now I got this for free to review, so as a free pair of binoculars, I think it's pretty darn good. I'm planning on keeping these next to my 7x binoculars to give me options of more or less magnification. Using them has made me price out and look at the Celestron Skymaster 15x70 binoculars. And so if you're serious about buying something, I think, you know, I would recommend those Celestron 15x70 millimeter binoculars. They're a little bigger than these guys. They have better interpupular distance, better optics, and more light gathering capability because they're 70 millimeters instead of, you know, 40 to 50 here. But they are $10 more than this guy.